All right.
Hello.
Let me grab my coffee and my water.
I'm getting started. Goal today is to beat the pufferfish. So basically my plan is to just get a bunch of bananas from this place, but I really don't want to spend too much time here. I want to get going to some of the other levels. I think what we need is 100 bananas to beat the game, so we're about halfway there. But we still have 4, 5, 6, and 7 for worlds to do.
Yeah, so we still need to defeat every boss, right?
Yeah.
Of every
You do
world.
need to do that, and you have to do the final... And we have to get as many of those blueprints as possible, so we'll have to go around and see if we can find those in the overworld. Because I forgot they had them in the overworld, I just saw the chunky one there. I really like the final boss of this game. I think it's super fun and charming.
Oh yeah, it's fun and it makes sense with like the different characters have different abilities and all that stuff. It's fun.
I think this level isn't poorly designed. It's like, it literally just comes down to, it's too dark, so it's hard to see what's going on. The rain effect slows down the frame rate and also makes it harder to see what's going on. And the colors are really muted.
Yes.
But I think doing like a sea shanty kind of level especially makes sense for Donkey Kong, because there's so much pirate stuff in the older games.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was more just like...
More piratey.
More pirate ships. Or like, you know, there's like... Or what if it's like 2 rivaling pirate ships, and like...
Oh, that's complicated. That would've been cool, though.
But then, like, you have to, like, go between the two, and then there is some underwater stuff, but it's like, you're kind of in the middle of a pirate ship war. I think that would be fun.
Or if, maybe... Because maybe King K. Rool didn't have to be a boss just at the end. What if they had done King K. Rool, like, in the middle of the game, which is about where this is, the boss fight is him, and then you fight him again at the end. Then he could have been in his pirate getup.
Yeah. Which would have been the callback to the first one.
Yeah.
The very first game. Which is always a fun little Easter egg.
In the second one,
Easter
no,
eggs are
actually
fun.
the second game is when he's a pirate. The first game he's normal, in the second game he's a pirate, and then in the third game...
No, he's on the pirate ship in the first one, too.
I know, but he doesn't dress up like a pirate.
Oh.
In the second game he's a pirate the whole time, and in the third game he's like a Frankenstein.
Oh. Yep.
Because he's Captain K. Rool.
Yep.
Oh, there's a lanky switch there. These guys kind of scared me when I was a kid. I don't really know why. They're pretty, like, cute.
Yeah, once you actually do... But they're ones that can't be defeated, correct?
They came with an orange.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But there's no point to doing it if you don't need a watermelon. Is this timed? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just trying to get everything open. This is kind of another slog of a thing, is I kind of have to, like, go through as every character and not only collect the bananas, but I have to open up all the doors and switches just so I can export properly, which this might also be a timed thing.
I think it is, yeah. Yep. Yeah, that is, especially because by this point you would have had all 5 characters if you're following
so there's
it in
no
order.
point to lock
so it kind of
it
makes
off.
sense that it would just be... Oh, right, it takes away 2. That's why I don't like
I think you get a third watermelon pretty soon here, though, so I'm not too worried about it.
But yeah, it's just kind of like, I don't think the gatekeeping here was really needed.
The literal gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's where it came from.
but that's just funny. I don't know why. I just had this idea in my mind that you could have, like, this would be like a very rare thing to do.
Very rare thing to do.
Is you'd have like a level that would like cut off certain places, and the guy's name would be like Gare E. Mandarin or something like that.
Gare E. Mandarin. Okay, that's good.
That would be, except I don't know if that would translate well to like an English type thing, but still. What's going on in David's life?
So I got burnt the other day.
It's like sunburnt or like someone told you off?
All of the above. No, so what happened was I was making a key lime pie because I am now on my 3rd day of Whole 30.
Now, okay.
And I actually started it and it's actually doing all that.
What, you can have a pie?
No, so I made this last week. Because I because we had a pie crust, like one of those.
Oh, you had one of those like tomorrow I'll start my diet days.
Yeah, so I was planning on starting it a while ago, but then Tony was like, can we start it later? I'm like, okay.
Oh, is he doing it with you?
Yeah.
That's nice.
So because his family was doing like a big barbecue thing on Sunday, So he's like, can we just start next week so then I can like enjoy the barbecue and drink with everybody and everything. I'm like, yep, that works. So then I decided to make a key lime pie because we had one of those like Pillsbury graham cracker crusts.
Oh yeah, those are good.
So, and I was like, I'm gonna make a key lime pie because I feel like making something, but I didn't. And I was like, but I'm also gonna start this next Monday, so I'm like, I'm just gonna make something fun and sweet, and then I'll go from there. So I made the key lime pie, and everything went well. The problem was that I remember hearing about this like 10 years ago, or like 5 years ago, but I haven't like actually done it, or actually like I have read about it since. But if you get lime juice on your hand and then go out into the sun, you get a chemical burn.
I never knew that. Is that real?
Yeah. So like, but it doesn't show up for a little while. So like, if you forget that you do it, then you might not even think it's a sunburn or a chemical burn. So I did the limes, and then I went out to water like some of the new trees that my parents got. And then 2 days later, I got like 5 or 6 big blisters on my thumb, and I didn't know what it was. And we first thought it was poison ivy, but then I realized I hadn't been out like in the woods for a long while, so it wasn't that. What I found out is we like looked online because it's small enough where it looks kind of like just like a centralized rash, like it's not expanding anywhere. So we knew it was probably some kind of chemical burn, and then we realized that it was the lime stuff, and I felt kind of dumb.
Did it hurt?
No, it doesn't. It itched for like, when it first came up, it itched a tiny little bit, but it doesn't hurt or anything. And now the swelling's gone down, actually. I used to have kind of like a big, you know, you get those milky white blisters? That's what it was like. So
I'm agreeing with you for the sake of conversation, but I don't have that.
Though that's what happens when you get stuff like a chemical burn and it starts to blister. It's like a little discolored. It's not your typical clear blister. So that was fun, but now it's doing better.
So you're officially on the whole thing. Are you in the thick of it? And how long are you gonna do it?
Well, I'm gonna do it for 30 days.
Are you kind of tracking like weight, or just like how well you sleep, or what do you?
So what I'm tracking is currently I'm tracking the foods I eat, which sounds very basic, but I'm tracking that. So I have like meals planned for each day for the week, and then I'm also counting calories and vitamins and stuff.
I just meant, how are you what are you tracking? Like your weight, or your like sleep, or your like what do you?
I am looking at weight, but I weighed myself like at the beginning, but I'm not gonna weigh myself until like the end of the first
that's
week
what I was
or whatever.
Oh, you only need to weigh yourself once a week. It changes so much.
Yeah, and it's like I can like feel with my body that I haven't lost it. You know, because you can like kind of tell.
You can tell if you're like me, and it's like all your clothes are either size medium or size XXL. So that when you're in like the thrust of a large stage, nothing fits you.
So yeah, so like it's only been 2 days, so I'm not like weighing myself every day to, because I don't want to become obsessive about it.
It doesn't make sense to weigh yourself more than once a week, and it fluctuates so much day to day. You can like gain 5 pounds and like lose it the next day.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter unless you like do the same time of day every week and do it over the course of like a while. This is stupid. I'm open this.
They always say to like do it in the morning too, because then your body's not like.
You do it like whatever point of the day is like the longest since you've last eaten.
Yeah.
So you're like empty. I eat more at night than I do in the morning, so basically never works out for me.
See, my big thing is like I don't wanna. My big thing is to like avoid snacking.
I think that makes all the difference. I think that's a huge part of weight loss I've noticed, is if you just focus on like, I mean, it sounds reductive, but if you eat like a human's supposed to eat, just like meals every now and then, you'd be surprised how like well you feel. Yeah. But then I'll sit and eat cheese for like, I'll eat like 3 servings worth of cheese at 2 in the afternoon for no reason.
Yep. And that's what I've been doing since I've been at home and I haven't been working at all. So I'm just at home.
Working as a
I'm just at home, and I'm like, and even when I'm working on stuff, I'm like, well, I kind of just want to do something with my hands.
Well, and it's like, there's cheese. What else am I?
Exactly, cheese and crackers.
There should be like a philosophical ideal here, because it's like, if there's cheese, then it's on my mind about being
Yeah.
eaten. It can't just exist. It has to be in a state of about to be eaten or used for something. There's no stasis.
It's always in movement and flux with your relationship with cheese. Like the cheese is like beckoning you to be.
I don't know what it is about. I think it's because cheese is super calorie dense and it's also sweet and also salty.
Yeah.
And you can kind of be like, well, you know, it's not as bad as like chips or cookies or something, but it's not special. You can't be proud of snacking constantly on cheese. And yet here I am.
I'm not gonna say I'm not proud of it, but I'm not mad about it.
So what are you sort of expecting to get out of like the end of it? Like, are you trying to kind of?
So the big thing that I kind of want to do, it's not even so much necessarily weight loss, but I want to get more used to eating 3 meals a day, but then also not, like, I want my body to not be as used to, like, being full and heavy all the time.
Yeah.
Like, the big thing for me is, like, I know that my body just, like, when I eat food, my body, I, like, eat until I'm full and, like, and not that I eat until I'm full, it's like that I eat until I feel full, which is well beyond.
Yeah, that's like 15 minutes past.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like I want
the secret trick if you want to snipe these guys.
So what?
It's not. Okay, it's the secret.
So what I'm trying to do is like work with my body to make it not want to be like heavy all the time.
You're kind of resetting your like
metabolism.
Your
almost.
metabolism and your gut health.
Yeah.
Just so it's like, yeah, you know when you, and you kind of like, if you reevaluate your relationship with like how you eat, you kind of better understand like when you need to stop eating.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's kind of like cliche to be like, I want to think about mindfulness, but like I really do, because like I want to focus on making sure that I know what my body's telling me.
It's a balance too though, because mindfulness is important. But also, sometimes it can be really hard to figure out, like, if you aren't tracking your calories and your nutrients, exactly what you're eating. So I think it goes in tandem that you need to, like, be aware physically, but then there also has to be some sort of, like, quantitative nature to it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, like, with the way, like, food is specifically designed right now to, like, make you eat as much as possible and not feel full and, like, be as addicted to it as possible.
Yep.
So it's, like, you need a little bit of that objectivity, I think, to strike the balance.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you're just going based off of what is available to you,
You do research in it, and it's like they make a Dorito, and it's like 450 different guys are like balancing the amount of citric acid to put into each chip, so it's like chemically designed to be as addictive as possible.
Yep. But you know what? I still like eating a Dorito every once in a while.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I've found too is like. Sometimes, like, complete omission doesn't work with me. It's like, I eat out really well, or I eat really well during, like, normal times. So then when I go out with you guys, I don't have to feel weird about eating, like, you know, 7 bales of cheese balls or something like that.
Yeah, I need to be more like that, where I'm not eating, like, crap the rest of the days,
Because it's like, I know if I'm hanging out with you or other people, it's like, oh, I'm probably going to get Culver's or get lazy or do something like that. So that's what tend to works better for me. This just gets to be amazing. It's basically just random. I don't know what the point of that one is. It just shot me.
Oh, that was a loop.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get
the bananas.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to fight the boss before too long. So besides getting burned by citric acid, what else have you been up to?
Nothing.
Did you watch Hamilton?
Oh, I did watch Hamilton.
What did you think?
I only saw the second act.
You only saw the second act?
Yeah, because I was at Maddie and Megan's house, and I
the second act
with
was more interesting. The first act I thought was kind of boring.
I thought I think I liked what you said about it, and we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. I mean, that's my hot take, and I'm just gonna put it out there right now.
Yeah.
Hamilton is Rent of the 20. Oh my. Okay, I thought I missed it again. It's Rent for the 2010s. It's the exact same kind of like feel. If I had been 13 when Hamilton had came out, I would have thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. I would have been. And I loved Rent. I would have been in love with Hamilton. So I get why it has such a like a following, because it totally fits that bill. But yeah, it's I mean, it's the same thing as Rent. It's like at the time it was made, you can kind of understand that the writers had like really lofty intentions, and but it aged really poorly. Like, I mean, Hamilton. If Hamilton, I mean that's just kind of, I don't want to say bad luck, But if Hamilton had been like written and came out now, I bet they would have written it very differently.
Oh yeah, totally. Because it came out before like Trump happened and all that stuff. So.
And I mean, he'd been writing it, I think, since like 2009.
Ooh.
I think he'd been writing it for a really long time.
Yeah, so I think it made more sense with the political environment of 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's an Obama era show.
Yeah, I do still appreciate that it's a show, and like obviously like a man with ambitions like regrets his ambitions as like a pretty standard fare. But
oh, that didn't count. Okay.
But I think I like how they at least in the second act they talked about the people kind of all conspiring. It's like they're not necessarily, they pretend to have America's best interest at heart, but most of them are just like, I just want to have power.
It seems like it can't really decide if it wants to be like unabashedly patriotic or like, because I get that the theme is like legacy and it's like, well, who gets to really decide history? But then it's kind of written from like the most flattering possible perspective of most of the people involved.
Yeah, I would say it would need to be more critical.
The theme doesn't tie in, like what the message they're trying to push doesn't tie in with what happens on stage.
I think this just turns into a loop.
I know, no, you have to hit a switch. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it.
Oh.
I thought I figured out the trick, but I was wrong.
I kind of hope that, how I could see it working maybe a little better is like having the first half be kind of more not run of the mill. It would still have like the rapping and everything, right? That gets people excited, but it would be more like laudatory. But then the second half would be way more just like
The thing is, that's what it is. That's exactly. But you didn't see the first half is even more laudatory. And the second half is considered like the critical portion, which is, I think that's the unfortunate thing, is it's not very critical at all.
It just needs to be more like, I can see what they're going for, and I can see like, oh, like he hurt his wife and now she doesn't get to tell the tale of her life, and
but then she does, the ending is kind of like everything is wrapped up in a really neat bow, and there's so much that feels kind of like Alexander Hamilton's like the coolest, smartest guy in the world, and I'm like, for your message of like who gets to tell history, it should be from the perspective that nobody knows. And I guess maybe that was like at the time people didn't really know Alexander Hamilton's story, but it would have made sense if it was like random people during the Revolutionary War that were just like, you know, the idea of doing kind of like colorblind. It's not even colorblind casting. I think it's like specifically supposed to be. It's color.
It's purposely supposed to not match up.
I don't even think it's supposed to be color, but I think it's supposed to be people of color. I think that's a really cool. It's not even worth calling it a spin. I just think that's a really cool approach for telling the story, because again, that ties into like, okay, who gets to tell whose stories?
Can I try?
Yes. I think the music, and I think Z.
Which one's Z?
R2. Yeah. I think the cool thing too is if you're a hip hop fan, you can really see how detailed some of the writing is.
Oh yeah.
They're taking inspiration from 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s hip hop. You can be like, oh, they're kind of doing an Eminem song, they're kind of doing an ODB song, they're kind of doing a Kanye. I think that was really cool to watch as somebody who listens to a lot of hip hop, to see like all the different styles they tried to emulate.
And it's not just like Lin-Manuel Miranda decided one day, he's like, I'm gonna write rap songs.
No,
it's like
not.
He's actually,
and it's intentionally meant to be provocative, because that ties again with the themes of the show. The founding fathers, in the context of how it's presented, are supposed to be very provocative, and it makes sense for rap music to be the type of music they use to present that.
Oh wait, shoot!
You got to hit the DK star. That's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
That the music was catchy. The performances were great. People told me when I was going in there, people were like, "Oh, you know, Lin-Manuel isn't very good." And I thought he was fine. I liked him.
I thought he was good too.
People were telling me he couldn't sing. You know what? He can't cry. There's a couple times where he had to cry during the show, and he didn't do a great job.
I mean, I do think maybe like some of the more emotional moments, you're right. But I think overall he did really well.
And I mean, and now it's very interesting, because you had, this is going to happen with anything that gets popular, is you get the super strong following, and then you get
shoot.
the counterculture that says you have to not like this.
Yeah.
And then you have the critical lens that says both are okay. And I don't know, it's interesting. A lot of people are re-examining Hamilton right now, and I see every side of it.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think it's I kind of went on a little tirade on Instagram the other day.
I saw.
I think it's just not the most productive to expect one show or one thing to be able to cover everything. You know, like I'm not saying it's
not even the first Broadway musical about the founding fathers.
Yeah.
1776 is actually oh yeah, you got to get because we haven't gotten the coin yet, so
Yeah.
that must be the path. 1776 is much more critical of the founding fathers.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, it paints them as they're kind of like they don't know what they're doing and they're kind of stupid. I think he must have been inspired by 1776 to do it.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I just kind of saw
Just see it,
1770. Like I saw like the imagery for it and everything. I'm like, oh, it's probably like a very patriotic musical.
For its themes and its ideas, Hamilton is really not critical at all. It makes fun of Thomas Jefferson, kind of, but it's in like a playful way, and it's in a very intentional, like these are caricatures of these characters. Like I don't think there's really any point at the show where it's really critical of like A, the founding fathers, or B, just like patriotism in general.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's just not what they want to do. I also understand why people don't like that Hamilton is being put under a new critical lens, because I think it's really easy. Again, I'm putting myself in the shoes of being 13, and I just saw that, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I think it's really easy to get defensive about things that you see like as very valuable.
Yeah.
It's like if you really like Hamilton and somebody says, "Oh, you know, this is something that needs to be re-examined," I could see
I think
how
you have to. Oh, I see what you're
I could see how you could take that as kind of like a personal attack against you. Not that you should, but I could see why people are kind of like hurt by that notion.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think right, like nothing's immune to criticism, but I also think it's like very on trend to be like to also say that Hamilton is like isn't good. Like it's very. I think it's very.
It's
easy.
a good music. If you want to just if you want to ignore the politics of a show about Alexander Hamilton, the show itself is great. I think I'm not in love with it, but
I think it's good.
I think the choreography, I think having the little spinny thing, I need to see it live. That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
a show where you can tell just watching it that it's the one you kind of need to be there and a recording.
I thought it was cool, like how they had the woman be the bullet. Like that was cool at the end when. I thought that was cool.
It's
But
also it's also like there are a lot of times I feel like where it's telling you to be sad versus actually feeling sad.
Yeah.
Because there's really not that much character in the show. It's more basing like your emotional connection off like, okay, I know who these characters are from history class.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of time with these characters. It's a lot of plot. This happens, but
Yeah.
you know, in normal musicals, I guess not normal, but it's more common in musicals to have the spoken segments or like, because I guess there aren't really spoken segments in Hamilton because it's more of a rock opera, but
Yeah.
those segments to be more like plot, and then the songs are more about, okay, what's the character's reactions or feelings
What's their internal
about what
monologue?
happened.
Yeah.
That really doesn't happen in Hamilton. The songs are kind of like, the songs are plot, almost all of them.
Yes. Yeah.
I really like they did the rap battle.
Yeah,
with
that was
Jefferson and them. That was the show. That's something you can't. I can't not say enough. Is everybody there is having? Oh, do I not? Maybe I have, everyone there is having a great time. The guy who did Aaron Burr was really talented.
Yeah. What is really like with Daveed Diggs, for example? Like you could tell he's like having.
He was
a blast.
He was yeah, he was Jefferson.
He was Jefferson, yeah. And so it was just
In the
like
first, because everybody plays. That's the other thing is everybody plays two characters.
Mhm.
So he's Marquis de Lafayette in the first act.
Yeah, and then Jefferson. It's just like you can tell he really enjoys it, which is fun. Because like obviously you want your cast to look like they're having a good time, but in Hamilton, I think that kind of works well because you can tell it's Daveed Diggs who's enjoying it. And it's the caricature of Thomas Jefferson. Like, there's something to be said about, like, having the character itself be a caricature allows you to see the actor themselves more.
Because,
like,
yeah,
you
and I mean,
wouldn't.
I don't think this happens really now, but I think there were people that were upset when it first came out. But it's like, it's so much of the show is not meant to be a literal story. They're not saying that that's exactly what happened. They're saying, here's a way we can tell this story, and that's obviously... Oh my god, these guys come back right after you kill. Well, that's unnecessary. They're saying, here's an idea or interpretation of how it happened, and to... I don't know. No... History buffs... you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm going nowhere with this. But it's not worth getting mad about whether or not it's accurate, because it doesn't matter.
No, accuracy is not really all that important. Did you see that balloon?
That's what I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to get. Oh, okay. We'll keep some for a little bit there. Maybe I have to be on the ground? I don't think I can shoot over this rail. I think I gotta be on the ground. This overweight gentleman is gonna body check me.
Or throw bombs at you. Yeah, I think overall the show is really good. It's fun. Oh
wow.
But I do like I think the expectations of it is sometimes a little too much.
Why is it important that we look at Hamilton under a critical lens?
I think it's important we look at everything we read with the critical lens. And like I think for a long time it was kind of like Hamilton is doing its own thing and it's really good, so there wasn't a whole lot of popular criticism of it where like, because you know everybody loves it, and it was kind of not discussed about like that, the blind spots of it or whatever weren't discussed all that much, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But now now that it's come out on Disney Plus, like people,
it's very mainstream.
It happened with like the George Floyd murders were less than 2 months ago, so like it makes sense that people would be looking at media that's coming out through that lens even more so than usual. So I think it's necessary. But like I said, if it's like if you're gonna look at Hamilton and be like these are the ways it could be better, I think that's valid. There are some
people... You can do that and still enjoy it.
You can do that and still enjoy it, and you can do that and still understand, like, what it succeeds in and what it doesn't do. For most, like, of what I've read and most of what I've seen, it's like there are people... like, the people who talk about it and everything, I totally get what they're saying, and I think it's great. I think what's potentially bad about it is just that if the conversation ends at, well, Hamilton didn't talk about race enough, and the conversation ends there, then I think it's not as good, because then you don't have the discussion of like, well, what other musicals are there that don't have like erased some of the discussions about race? What are some other things? How is Broadway designed to maybe how's the audience?
And that's an exact conversation you would have about Rent. It's an exact conversation that makes complete sense.
So I
almost look at it less from like Hamilton doesn't talk about race enough, and more of like it idolizes people that in a current political climate maybe shouldn't be idolized.
Yeah.
Which obviously connects to race again. But I don't know, I feel like there's a weird different layer of how you have to think about it when not that they're trying to portray real people as how they were, but when you have a show that's obviously going to be popular from people who are like, you know, ages like 10 to 15, which I think is a huge part of the Hamilton squaw.
Yeah.
Who might watch that and then go, oh, is this what Alexander Hamilton was like? And then kind of like base their... I don't know, there's a different level there even. Dang it. When it needs to be more explored, like... I don't know, like I was telling you, I bet you history teachers are going to show it in class.
Yeah, now it's on Disney Plus.
I wonder what the discussion is after that. Because it's like, if you watch that, like, what do you say?
Well, see, and I think that's why the discussion of, like, what's missing from it would be the best way to approach it. So, like...
You know that's not what it's going to be.
But you know that's not what it's going to be like. But I think that is the way to approach it. Or at least that should be. Like, if I were to show it in a classroom, and I was, like, talking about... I don't know. So, like, say, like, I teach a class about race when I'm a professor.
Race 101.
Sure. And then I could approach it as being like, so what does it not include? Why does that harm what the movie is going for, or the musical's going for, or whatever? So I think the approach to it then would be, you could look at like how, I mean, you could approach it like, how do they construct their raps? How do they, you know, take, if you want to talk about from the music context, you could say, how does it use references to popular music or popular rap music, and how does it, you know, call out to those? So it's what you want to do with it. But I think a really beneficial way to approach it would be to say, how does this, what are some of the spots that it could improve in terms of talking about how our country was founded?
I can imagine some good papers being written about that.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I could imagine great papers being written about the response to it right now. You know, and why is the response to it the way it is, and looking at that more critically, I think would be great too. There's a lot of ways to approach it, and I don't think, but the problem is, like, I don't think a high school classroom could really do any of those all that effectively.
No, they'll wheel the TV in and then they'll watch it and they'll be like, "Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite character?" Write a paragraph about why. Like, I like Thomas Jefferson because he does the funny raps. That actually, you know what? I'm being joking, but that is an example of me writing a paper in 8th grade.
Because he does the funny raps. He does the funny raps. All right, it's been 30 minutes. We should probably
I feel like it didn't even accomplish anything.
I know.
Okay. We're just establishing this level. Okay. We'll come back.